You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, and not what you...
Yeah, it's just what you need and not what you don't. Don't I say that all the time? That Elvis collar up, New York, the forehead, the glasses. What I look like without glasses on. It's pretty crazy. Good morning, folks. Good morning. Let's get right into the show. And it's about 32 degrees here. You know, when you see somebody with glasses and then you see them without glasses, it's like their eyes are smaller. They look completely different. And you see them with these hats and it's like they've got the eternal forehead and the headphones make your face look round. Vanity. Sometimes if you sing in the lounge manner, slurp your coffee. This is like some kind of homemade weird brew I made with a mixture of, I don't know, some kind of French roast, instant, medium roasts from a major chain, all that happy horse pucky, you know. I turned these things down yesterday and I forgot to turn them back up. You know, I guess this House of Horrors, if you just happened upon this thing, there's a road rally going on. You probably don't even hear that stuff half the time. I comment on things that no one ever hears. There's my book. So anyway, it is a Thursday, so I think it's time it's early enough to talk about the weekend weather. And let's get into it, the weekend weather. We're going to hold up the sheet because we don't have the capability with YouTube Live to do what we really want to do. You can see I have some annotations on this thing. And if you go up to Thursday, you notice I turned 33 down to 32 and the overnight to 19. And they're calling for snow showers. And I think technically it's not even snow showers now. Now it just says snow. And Thursday, 50% chance of snow, high of 36, low of 21. Friday, high of 39, low of 25. And now they move Saturday down to 39 at night. It was 43. And what's the high is only going to be 48. Well, you learn your lesson. Don't think you can garden early. I just don't know how in Hades these people can get away with constantly talking about global warming. I've been outside every single day for 25 years. 30 years, the past 30 years. And you know what I've noticed? There ain't any spring anymore. And the fall, it's like winter comes right in. And wherever they're taking their readings, these false readings they're getting, I'm telling you, it's a house of horrors. It truly is a house of horrors. Let me read what I put in the description because people don't go down there. First of all, the title is April Fools Indeed. As we bounce like a pinball from bumper to bumper, the surreal and absurd to the cold, hard reality that we truly are cattle on a tax/consumer farm run by the corporatocracy that has assimilated governments and pull the strings of the bureaucrats and mindless robots who inhabit the planet. It's a house of horrors. And yeah, by the way, there's links to my website and great solar stuff. Buy that stuff. Buy it now. Buy it now. Right? Buy it now. Buy it now. Buy it now. Buy it now. What are you waiting for? What did you spend your $1,400 on? Right? What'd you waste your $1,400 on? Oh, you pay some bill? What are you worrying about doing that for? Didn't you watch the speech yesterday? The speech, that House of Horrors speech. I got this thing. Oh, I talked about this internal revenue thing. So apparently they're just 6 months behind, the way I understand it. Was issued by direct deposit. Of course, you got to wonder, even if the IRS is, I don't even know if they have my social security number on this thing or not. All the stuff that they end up sending out to just get you into this, in other words, they're setting you up like the credit card companies and the online companies. They're setting you up for identity theft is what they're doing. This coffee's horrible, and I think it's going to give me a stomach ache of some kind. You are now live. Let's see. We're living in a house of horrors, the morning show live. Okay. All right. I wanted to read something to you that I got yesterday, an email. I have had apps. I don't do this stuff anymore, but I have had apps and songs and books and web business websites through Google, on Google's various things. So I get the Google emails. How the new Google Analytics is helping your business. Now listen to this. I want you to understand these things I talk about. The next generation experience can help take your digital analytics to a whole new level. I realize my face probably just looks like some, whited out thing. It's built with machine learning at its core to automatically uncover insights from your data that you can use to improve your marketing. It provides a more complete understanding of your full customer life cycle, from acquisition to retention, by bringing together data across app and web. Now, here's the kicker of this one. Looking ahead, this experience will work with or without cookies or identifiers, so you can learn about your customers even with gaps in your data. Now, do you understand what that means? With or without, all right, cookies or identifiers, and even with gaps in your data. And this is what I was trying to tell you about that previous email or the ones I get every month now that show the address that I went to, everywhere I went to over the past decade or two, that they've been collecting this data on me. And that's an email sent to me as an individual. So this is from the business side telling me how my business can profit from this. And of course, the government corporatocracy, whatever you want to call it, has is tied into all this data. It is the corporatocracy. When you're in a supermarket, I mentioned this in a previous video, but people don't listen to me, so I'm going to say it again and again and again until it sticks into people's heads. Not only do they know what you bought, okay, what card you use, where you bank, what your face looks like, no matter what you're wearing, they have got so many identifiers. They identify people now by their gait. Do you know what gait is? That's like the way you walk, okay? So if they can't see a certain part of your face, this is this idea of filling in the gaps. Maybe you have a certain gesticulation. That means you're moving your hands when you talk or you do some kind of thing, right? A jacket you wear frequently or have worn before over the past decade. Think about that. Now, here's where it gets crazier. They also record the person who's directly in front of you who checked out before you in the store, and the person who's behind you and checks out after you, even whether or not you know them or not. That's in case they want to do contact tracing, or if you or one of those other people is somehow accused of some kind of pre-crime or some kind of activity that goes against the corporatocracy. So they can haul all of your asses in. People have no idea what they're doing. They're filling in the gaps now. Listen to that road rally out there. I hope you can hear it. They're literally in a 25-mile-an-hour zone. There's a house of horrors. This world is a house of horrors. except that's at the Gates compound or the Fauci compound or the whatever his name is, that Bond villain guy from Amazon, Bezos, who's waking up to some sort of quiet morning by their fire. Coffee, my dear. How about some fresh strawberries? People just don't get it. They just don't get it. There was a speech I ended up watching yesterday because I finished watching Black Lightning, and that's over and ended. And they ended it well. They completed it. At least some of these series, they end it, and it's like they don't really end them what I would consider where they close off all the loose ends. There's like a stray mustache hair. Sometimes maybe at some point in my life I'll turn this into a Salvador Dali thing, just to deal with how surreal society is. So I was completely bored. It just so happens as I was using the remote control, because I watch YouTube on TV, I thought, well, I see that there's going to be this live thing about infrastructure. So I'm like, whatever. It's not like I'm watching TV. It's YouTube. Let's see what this guy has to say. Now, first of all, I think he kind of they must have watched some of my videos. But the thing was, the man held himself together fairly well. You got to admit, you got to hand it to him. I mean, there was really no gaffes. I think there was one thing that was but I mean, it was no worse than some of the nonsense any of us do, myself included. So it was fairly well put together, and, it's a rather grandiose plan, rebuild America, highways. They're going to take 10 bridges and, just rebuild them from scratch. Fix, I don't know, 10,000 other ones. Upgrade, put high-speed rail across the country. Put, what was it? 500 or 5,000 electric car charging stations, right? And a host of other things. Now, if you have a thinking brain or you are capable of going to my Rock Flux channel, that's, when you hear me play this thing sometimes, wherever the heck it is.
So you found us.
What is it trying to tell us?
No strings, no catch. You own everything.
Now stay tuned to Rock Flux.
Rock Flux is the name that I used for my YouTube channel. And I've had a very hard time combining my other named channels because I really wanted them to be. At one point I messed around with it, but it didn't work. It's not working. I've got like a kind of a chip on my shoulder today because I don't feel 100%, but such is the way life is, maybe due to constipation. Tony Caravan Live, we talk about stuff like that. At one point I woke from a dream and I was a gentleman, it's like I was this total adult type of guy, and instead of being such a clown. Sometimes I feel like that, and then other times I just get back into these rants and I figure, hey, it's all showbiz, man. It's all showbiz.
Hello. It's an excursion into the odd and into the very, very different.
But then I jump back into this kind of nonsense. So we'll try that one more time. Welcome to the Tony Caravan Live morning show. It's 5:56 a.m. on the first day of April in the calendar year 2021. It's the year 2021. Let that sink in. Now, for somebody born in the year 2000, you can go get a drink today. But for those of us born many, many decades prior to that, this is like sci-fi, right? This is sci-fi. Whoever thought year 2021, right? Never even this would be like so futuristic, right? Growing up or when you were in high school. If someone said, hey, imagine, because the year 2000 would have been like, wow, could you imagine the year 2000? Now it's like the year 2021. And we live in a house of horrors. Well, everything that guy said last night, I said, I'm all for, technically, I mean, I'm all for it. But what I was trying to get at in my insult to my audience, say I was insulting you. That's what I do. I insult my audience sometimes. And because my audience insults me and I insult them back, that's the world we live in today. People are disrespectful. YouTube disrespects me, right? They throttle me. I put a video up yesterday about my garden, and I noticed that one only got like 1 view or something like that. And I was talking to someone about it. I'm going like, look, it's one thing to understand that, say some kind of weird rant like this or something like that, or someone looks at this guy and they go like, oh, who is this guy? Right? It's a house of horror. My face is a house of horrors to somebody, perhaps. I don't know. I don't understand. I can't figure it out. But there's no reason when you just like scan and I get these random things under recommended, because I am interested in gardening. And I get these random videos by nobodies. They're complete. They're as much a nobody as I am. And they've got, 27,000 views. And the video's been up for, a few minutes or something. I've been on YouTube for a long time. It's crazy. And it's a garden video. So it's not like it's the content. This goes out to that tattoo if you're watching this by any chance. Tried to explain, well, they're coming after certain people who do, or they do. No. It's like, no, what they're doing is if somewhere along the line they have a demographic profile of you, like I previously was alluding to, like how in depth they have this thing. If they view you as someone who is unnecessary, if you're a Star Trek fan, you understand the Borg. If you're someone that cannot be assimilated, right? And you are immune to their control mechanisms. And man, do they have a lot of them. And when you don't behave the way they expect you to behave, right? And I never have, right? I've always laughed at this whole, House of Horrors. I saw this as a tax farm many, many decades ago. Consumerism. I mean, that's why I messed in the advertising business and all of that stuff, because I've figured it all out. So if they see you as somebody like that they can't control, use in some way, shape, or form, and if you don't violate their terms of service, right, that's another thing that gets them, because they want you to violate the terms of service so they can just get rid of you, altogether. They can't just get rid of you without it, because the terms of service applies to them as well as you. I don't know. Excuse me for doing this. I'm not picking my nose. I'm just itchy for the coffee on my mustache and my nose. But there are things in the terms of service that promise their behavior towards you as well. They that's how it works. And, they've also been issued, it's like television stations and radio stations, even though it's not enforced by the FCC, there are basic standards like that apply to them. It's just that they're no longer really enforced. Some have been dropped. I mean, that's true. Equal time has been dropped. There used to be a thing that, a station like CNN or Fox or MSN or Bloomberg, it doesn't matter. It's like I said, this doesn't matter what wing you're on, the right wing, left wing, tail wing, or off the wing of the bird. I just give the bird to all of them. There's nothing to do with politics or ideology or anything like that. When I say this is the House of Horrors, it's not because of the current administration, as they call it. There is only the corporatocracy. There are no politicians anymore. There are people that call themselves politicians. There are stupid people that go out and actually vote and think that it actually means something. They don't understand who writes the laws and how the system works. You can do whatever you want to do. You're free to do that. But ultimately, the corporatocracy just does what it wants to do. The world is run the way the world is going to be run. The Davos set makes those decisions. So when they encounter people who are free spirits, independent type of people who don't fall for their brainwashing techniques and propaganda and went through the indoctrination school system, but it just didn't stick, right? Then, they do everything they can to analyze you. First, they try to bring you into their fold. So when I was younger, there was a series of times when I was brought in to certain interviews and stuff, and they tried to recruit me, into that, into their world, because I had a certain look and a certain personality that they thought, well, maybe, maybe this might be a potential Rhodes Scholar. Maybe this is someone, that, I hesitate to use the word, but it's a matter of fact that we could bring into the Illuminati. Okay. Which is actually a real thing, I mean, I was involved in that. Okay. Oh my God, he said it. But, I didn't, I just wasn't into that stuff, So I spent, and that's some of my travels, and I spent time. That's why I was all over the place. That also like freaked them out too. The man, we can't, this makes no sense. This man has had literally hundreds of addresses. He's traveled all over. This is very confusing. Look at his passport. And getting a letter from the CIA saying, in accordance with company policy, all records of this correspondence will be, expunged from our records or something like that. People have no idea how the world works. Of course, that was before digital and stuff. So I wonder if I guess maybe it really was expunged. Maybe they really don't even know what went on back then, 40 years ago. Right? Yeah. The thanks of a grateful nation. A little flag back there. So, yeah, we're living in a house of horrors. And, and like I said, the corporatocracy's taken over the bureaucracy anyway. So, the alphabet agencies no longer are in control. The data the amount of data that Alphabet / Google have is gone beyond anything that the NSA, you know, collects. Oh, it's that guy Snowden, people still interview him and talk to him, but he's been over in Russia or wherever for so long. He's so far he's completely out of the loop, right? He doesn't even know what he's talking about. So, every now and then somebody interviews him, and thinks they got a scoop, right? And, in some, or quotes him in some terms of some privacy matter or something like that. It's like, you don't know how fast things change. Things change like very fast, and how, how various agencies respond and react, within hours of something, Like, again, people watch these things in movies. They see these cleanup operations. They see there's like an office here. 1 minute somebody goes there, and a couple hours later somebody comes back to say this is where it happened, and the place is completely empty. Not even a pencil on the floor, or maybe that's all there is like a number 2 lead pencil on the floor, clean of any fingerprints or anything. A pencil that forensics can only found that was just bought downstairs in a stationery store. People have no idea of what's going on. They have no idea. What is it like to live in a world that you think is something and it isn't anything like the way you think it is? I know I'm just, as the guy who gave that speech yesterday uses the term riffing, so to speak. I'm looking over here because it's where I keep all my sound effects,
He went forward to another time. Let's get this show on the road.
Okay. Let me look at my description thing here one more time. As we bounce like a pinball from bumper to bumper, the surreal and the absurd to the cold, hard reality that we truly are cattle on a tax/consumer farm run by the corporatocracy that has assimilated governments and pulls the strings of bureaucrats and mindless robots who inhabit the planet. It's a house of horrors. It's a house of horrors. And that's no April Fools. House of Horrors. So in that speech, all these great things were promised, and like I said, there were really no gaffes, as they call them. I hate that word, but there were no gaffes in that speech. And, it wasn't well written, but, it got the point got across. I mean, anyone who wants to criticize it is strictly someone caught in some ideological, political world, because the reality is I'm looking at this just from the surface value. Okay. No, it was a fine speech. Okay. And the promises made, were fantastical, right? It was a dream. It was, if he was a greater orator, which he's not, one would have considered that like a, like Kennedy's speech about landing a man on the moon. I mean, that's what it was intended to be. And if you really want to analyze it, I can't stand these people that analyze things and they, because they disagree with the person, they want to poke holes and like point fingers and laugh, at an individual or something like that. No. There was nothing wrong. It was intended to be like Kennedy's speech about landing a man on the moon. The problem is the man delivering it was not Jack Kennedy. That's all. you know. But in his mind, while he was doing it, he probably envisioned himself as that. His wife may still see him, and devotees probably felt that way. And I'm sure, I don't watch the media and I have no intention of watching it. I'm sure the media will present it that way. But the reality is, no, it was an interesting speech. I understand what he was trying to say. It's like, here, we're going to do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. It just didn't have that like oomph, that thing, because, that has to do with the man, and, and even the actor, so to speak, like, the performance, right? Like Mick Jagger said in that one movie. But and the performance wasn't good enough for it to be that kind of high-end inspirational, speech, call to action, because the world still is a house of horrors, and this country still has irreconcilable differences. And there are too many people that won't even give it the time of day like I did. See, I'm always willing and open. It's just that some people would say, well, you're a fatalist and a pessimist. And that's why we don't watch your videos. And, so that's the truth. That's the real reason. It's not like Google's throttling you because you are, you're an anomaly, right? You're a ghost in their machine, and they don't know how to treat you. So they just keep trying to bury you in their, deeper and deeper in their servers. I'm a ghost in the machine. You can't figure it out. But I'm not violating their terms of service. And they can't violate their terms of service either. And they know I know that. And I know they know that. So yeah, it was a very interesting speech. But if you go back before, when I was being insulting to those people who aren't watching and who won't watch. So am I really insulting anybody? Not really. I have a video that is, I don't know if you can be on YouTube simultaneously twice at the same time. I don't know if I could broadcast live, open up another browser, go to YouTube, find a video, and put that link on here. This may like totally gum up the works, but let me give it a try. I'm going to try this. I'm opening another browser right now, so the colors may get weird. I'm going to try to go to YouTube. I don't know if it gives you a thing saying you're already like on or something like that. Your videos. I've never done this before. This could really gum up the works. If the show goes off the air, I'll come back. All right. What I'm looking for is a video I did about infrastructure. Here it is. The infrastructure climate change dilemma. All right. Now I'm going to copy the video link, quit out of that. I'm going to come back here, going to edit. And below my sponsor link, video link to infrastructure. Let's see if it brings it. Yeah, it's there. Okay, save. So when you're done this video, or if you want to put this on pause and go there right now, I did a video about And I had the thing up. I'm not going to go back because I don't want to mess this up. It looks like everything's still broadcasting live and all that stuff. So let's keep things going the way they're going. I had a video, like I said, it's the infrastructure climate change dilemma. And that is, I want you watch that because I think I get more. I think that might have been a produced video, meaning there might be like actual things that pop up on the screen, such as heavy equipment. I forget. It's a long time ago. I've been doing these videos every day. All right. So, live videos alone, if this is April 1st, I must have almost, I don't think I have 100 live videos, but I would have at least, let's see, 70, a minimum of 75, something like 75 or more live show, everyday live shows. But, there's hundreds. I have a couple hundred videos. So there's definitely 100 videos in this vein that and the majority are live. But I mean, I started producing weeks before that, these videos like this. Just they had introductions. So when you hear this kind of like all this stuff, that was all part of like, this intro with some graphics, and I'd always have some strange thing come up, and it was fairly interesting, very time consuming. And like I say, I'm not monetized. So the point of spending 4 to 6 hours a day on, producing these videos, it's not that big a deal. Like I said, buy a shirt, buy it now. You don't know what you don't know. That's like one of the most comfortable shirts you'll ever own. I'm serious. I put it on, worn it a couple times, washed it. It's still comfortable as hell, and everything is wrong. That's a t-shirt up there, but you can't see the outline of the shirt unless I do something weird like this. Let's see with this light. If I could bend this light up, I might be able to see that it's a shirt. See that the shirt. The face. It's hard to get this. There's my book there, Codex, and my great solar stuff. And Want to Believe is I Want to Believe. That's the Mulder poster from the set of the X-Files. Okay. I got that off the set of the X-Files. And there's the original Mac Apple computer, the original one right there. Yeah, I get all kinds of stuff. I've been around places, and this power pack thing here, I say everything's backwards, so it's like, it's really weird. Just like, where do I point my thumb? This thing, well, first of all, we know what this is.
The temperature was 32 degrees, the dew point 29.
See, as you can see, 32, dew point 29. Anyway, I sell these things on Great Solar Stuff. And this thing we used the other day demonstrated. I don't know why we can't. Let's see if you can. These cameras, I'll tell you, it's disappointing. Anyway, it's 92%. It hasn't lost any of its charge. You can hold it with one hand, but you can see here that you could just plug in something to it. And these are USB ports. And then it charges. You could charge this from cigarette lighter, from your house wall outlet, or from a solar panel. It's got some nice legs on it. And it comes with all the accoutrements to charge it. This thing has a solar panel on it too, on the top. Just flip that up. Let's see if you could face it over towards that thing. It's so hard to get lighting in here. And this also has a reading light underneath it, flashlight. You can emergency charge your cell phone on this too. Codex is the name of my book. Anyway, I was about to pour some more coffee. See, they call this category that this is listed in is people and vlogs. Now, I don't know. Maybe that's the reason why there's why, I get one view or something like that, or 5 views, or 13 views, or 34 views. But that's the idea. And I'm not going to change. Because I'm just letting you come into my world and hang out. And it's just my opinion. And more people should do this. And it's not like you have to be a regular. I wish more people would do what I'm doing, but they don't. And it's disappointing. In other words, they get too slick. And when I started, I was like, that's why I say I had these produced videos. And they were getting really slick. In other words, it was like the morning show, and of course and I've got the morning show mugs, which you can order on TonyCaravanLive.com. I mean, I'm into all that kind of stuff, and the t-shirts and Great Solar Stuff is my sponsor, but it's my site. So it's not really a sponsor. So like I said, I don't make any money on this. No one's buying anything. Buy something. Okay? I'll make 50 cents. I could use it. I make $1. I'll use it. Some days today I'm drinking this medium roast coffee. The other day I was drinking like a Dr. Thunder, or there's something called Dr. Bob's Diet Cola or something. It's 69 cents a 2-liter bottle. It's a couple days of morning show beverages. So if you buy a mug, I might make 69 cents on this, which means you've sponsored 2 days of my mug. See, there's a lot of people out there, if you say 69 cents, they go, oh, what kind? They don't understand the world that how you can have a world outside of, the fortune world, right? I mean, yeah, there was a time when I was, driving, an expensive car and paying, like I say, $1,000 or more in rent. It cost me a couple $1,000 actually to have an apartment. Just going out to places, having $100 bar tab, or whatever, and not even at that's not a fine restaurant. That was just like at a Irish pub, just being, buying my mates, or in Australia, it's my shout, mate. Just doing that sort of thing. Maybe having a shot of Irish whiskey. The good stuff. That's half your bill right there. With a little glass of water next to it. That's the way you drink that stuff, But yeah, it's an amazing world. It's a beautiful world. And I've done all those things. But now, my favorite store is, one of my favorite stores is the Dollar Tree. Yeah, really. And I understand, I think next week or sometime in the next week or so, I'm going to get another chance because someone has to get their second shot. And it's down here, and they're going to have a driving through, and they're going to drop me off at Walmart. So I'll be able to just walk through Walmart and spend like 45 minutes walking slowly with the cart up and down the aisle, looking for those little deals. Things I like to get at Walmart are things like index cards. So I write notes on index cards. And at Walmart, you could like buy a pack of index cards for like 50 cents or something like that. You get these little paintbrushes, for like 50 cents or 60 cents. I like to get those things because I do a lot of touch-up painting in my backyard. If you watch my garden video from yesterday, it's only like, I don't know, 8 minutes total. It was like a pre-freeze video. So it's probably going to turn out, it's a tragic, it's a prelude to a tragedy. Wordsmith. But the thing is, I'm always doing little touch-ups on different things like that. So it's like they used to sell those brushes. I don't know if they still do, but they were even like 40 cents or 39 cents, just like a little brush. And it's like, it's I don't know if it's like some horse hair or some kind of thing. Hopefully no horse was killed to make a paintbrush, or it's some kind of, it's not nylon. There's nothing worse. You go to some of these dollar stores and get these cheap brushes, for $1 or something like that. But they're that nylon. And nylon is just not, it just doesn't cut it because it's just not as precise. If you're just painting some big thing, they're fine. But even then they might streak. You want that like brush, So whatever they use, I don't know what Walmart used to have them. And I loved them when they were 40 cents. I'd always go in and I'd buy like 5 of them. Because when I'm done with them, I'll just throw them away, Someone will think, well, that's a waste. Well, not really, because it's all natural, actually, because the handle's made of wood and it's some kind of, hair, animal hair, or brush, whatever they make a brush of. I don't know. What's a brush made of? It's like an art. They're like the art. It's almost like an artist brush. So I guess I could, and from time to time I have rinsed them out if I'm using a water-based paint. But they're particularly are good if you're using some kind of a varnish or a stain, because it's just not worth the effort to try to preserve, And half the time when I'm doing that, I'm just flopping on something on my greenhouse or on like the edges of my raised beds. Of course, I use a lot of linseed oil now. I discovered that to keep the wood going. Because a lot of people, they have these raised beds and they just let them, they turn gray and then they start to rot. It's like, why do that? I probably turned off people like 20 minutes ago, so nobody's even listening now. But I'm going to watch this, so it'll be interesting conversation for me. So you start out being a jerk, and then you get into some interesting discussion. But we live in that where people have the attention span of a goldfish, and they just don't want to, they just can't stay tuned. But the idea is you should tune in to what I was saying before. Tune into people's life from time to time. I don't expect to have regular viewers. Tune in from time to time or check out a video. And I wish there were more people like that, so you could tune that would just be not so slick. It's great. I mean, this is not me doing this, having cow noises to talk about the tax farm, right? Isn't slick. It's just kind of, I don't know. It's just kind of fun. I just happen to have this stuff. I got so many things like that, right?
Same time, same station.
But it's still me, And video definitely does add a few pounds to you. I was on a scale today. It looked like I lost like almost 5 pounds. I lost a lot of weight. I look completely different in real life than I do on this videos. That's the funniest thing about this. I can't figure that out. I don't know if it's the distortion of the lens. I play around with these things from time to time. You see? You can see right there. Oh. Sorry for that scare. Yeah. But That's one example. And here's another example. So the thing is, this is the way I envision the future. That, and the best use of the internet is for you to be able to go into people's houses, into people's lives, for them to share their thoughts on something. It's like I said in a more serious video, take the pulse of the nation. Like, here's one. Let's see. Look at this one. That's a real interesting one here. This is like a fisheye lens. It's hard to get it to focus. These things flop off there, right? But as you can see, it's a flat stomach. So I don't know. This gives you a broader outlook. I've got a futon over here, a very disorganized, bookshelf. This is my front room. All right. And over here, I have printers, and that's like there's a window over on that side. And then there's a front door down that way. And this TV that you see, the fireplace, used to be up across the room over there. You ready? Boom. But these lenses don't stick. They're made for like smartphones. And I think for those who are, and there are no, very few people who've seen it. Check this one out. Look at the size of that lens. That's a telephoto lens for a smartphone. So like I say, I have, 69 cents is a lot to me. But when I get 69 cents, I don't squander it, And I also still have this idea of saving, Like I'm not impatient about buying something. That's why I got rid of my credit cards. Not out of, thinking I didn't have self-control or something like that. Excuse me. But just because why should I pay them interest? And why have one? That's the other thing. In other words, I could wait to buy it. What's the purpose of a credit card? You can't say, to buy this thing and then pay it off over time. Well, at 29% interest or 20, whatever, they just keep raising the interest rates on those things. It's not worth it. But we needed a new such and such. Well, the thing is, you could have good credit. You could just get a, if you didn't have like all these credit cards, my advice to you is pay off your credit card and, and get good credit. And then get an overdraft protection loan. That's what I use. So you can't bounce a check, but it's actually a loan. So I got rid of everything and I had a $2,500. I don't mind admitting and talking about this stuff. It doesn't matter. I get hacked every now and then. I had like one of my accounts, something hacked a while back. It was a nightmare. It took me 6 weeks to get it resolved, but I got it resolved. It's like that story I told about those Ukraine hackers who hacked me one time, and I nailed them. Scared the crap out of them. Tracked them down to where they were. Yeah, that was really wild. That was like a better than a, one of those ops you see on in a thriller movie. Yeah. That's what I did, basically. Commando raid. I got my money back from Ukrainians. Imagine that. And they're like some of the best hackers, crazy bastards out there. I got their number. I know who they are. I've got access. I yanked a satellite on them. I used to be a hacker. I still have those skills. You could try anything you want to. I'll track you down. And I know people too who will help. Don't mess with this guy. Right? I guess me and Al Gore, we invented the internet. I've been on this damn thing since, for 30 years. All right. Or more. 30, almost 35 years. These people watching this aren't even that old. I've been messing, there's the original Mac. And I was online with that. 1985. Excuse me. 1985. And prior to that, I did the whole Commodore and all that other stuff. I was writing basic code and stupid stuff like that, back in the early 80s. So if you understand the foundation, the back, that's the best way to learn. It's like if a house, a person looks at a house. Well, how'd they make that house? But if you understand, the foundation, how you build a house from the foundation up and the walls and every step of the way of the plumbing and where it comes, electrical, where it comes in and how you get into the, the box and all that stuff, then it's, you just look at it and say, oh, I understand. I see it. But a lot of people just see the object, the thing, the internet, the computer, right? This sealed box. I remember when you can open up your computer and take the cards out and change the chips and add more of this and do this and, alter this and that, mess around with stuff. Just like radios. I can remember going into transistor radios and adjusting the screw in there and you could do things. And putting some wax there to seal it in that spot. Soldering wires. So, those are just interesting things people don't talk about and people don't know about anymore. Nobody knows how to do anything. People barely know how to use a hammer. Like I said, I've got these roofing problems. It's not that I couldn't fix my roof myself. It's just that it's 4 stories up. I don't have a ladder that tall, and the pitch of the roof is like that. But the problem is the tiles are off. So, I've been going in from underneath, putting in sealants and caulk in between the original boards that were laid down on this 100-year-old house, caulking that and then putting sealants over it. So I'm trying to seep in through this old wood to keep it from leaking because there's no tiles in some spots on top of that. Excuse me. I have a potential tooth problem back here somewhere. Excuse me for doing this. And I think it's because there's some sugar excuse me, in here in this coffee. It's probably causing a problem. But let's get back to this speech. This show hasn't been going on too long. I mean, these little anecdotal things. But that's what I'm trying to say. You should be able to change the channel, so to speak, on YouTube and find characters like me. And if it happens to be at a particular time when, guy's on an interesting little riff, so to speak, you tune in for a while and then you change your channel, go to somebody else's. But a lot of people on YouTube aren't doing stuff like that. It's all showbiz, it's like, it's rehearsed. It's like that TikTok thing and stuff. I mean, everything's like a production, but not like this, where I'm just trying to make a presentation that's, that's my world, welcome to my world. And here's my sound effects and, stuff like that. This isn't a production, it's just me. And I'm just talking about this stuff, drinking coffee and cleaning off my mustache with a handkerchief. I'm worried about sugar in some kind of tooth because you can't go to a dentist unless you get a test. They want to give me the shot too. I don't want to do that. You can watch yesterday's show about that. I don't know, man. That's the House of Horrors that I'm talking about. But I'm just going to give you an overview just briefly, just in a couple of minutes. The link is in, if show more, there's like a little bit of a description under this video down at the bottom here. And there's an area where it says show more. And then there's like a longer description. And it's like a link to my website, which you could go to and you could buy one of these shirts. And there's a link that says sponsor link to solar stuff. And you can get yourself one of these things. Get one. Even last night in El Presidente's speech, he talked about Texas and about these things. This plan to rebuild the infrastructure, do you know how many years that's going to take? They're talking like a 50-year plan, 30-year plan, 50-year plan. This isn't something that's going to happen overnight. Remember, nobody has any skills anymore, number one. So when they say we're going to hire one Wall Street firm has said this could make 18 million jobs. If you're already in the union, and I know guys in various unions, you're pretty well busy. There's a lot of work out there. So, the thing is the unions, so yeah, they'll, a lot of out of work union workers will, get jobs, if they start first of all, Congress has to pass this thing. We got to make, like, going through that thing. If it's anything like us waiting for this $1,400, we waited literally 8 months for that, because that originally started in Congress last summer. And then we finally got a check a couple of weeks, I got a deposit a couple of weeks ago. So if this is anything like that, be lucky if that bill passes by the summer or June. And then they have these things, they call them the statutory things, where they can't actually implement certain things immediately, right? And so, half this stuff, half of these projects, be lucky if they started this time next year, a year from now. You may have some money instantly go to the states, which would be nice. I wish they'd fix my roof, quite frankly, because I don't really care I'm not one of these people that believes in deficits or any of that stuff. The more money we can suck out of the Federal Reserve, because remember, that's not the government. It's not our tax money. It's just a consortium of banks. And they're just making money out of thin air. And people say, well, but the country's in debt. It's like, not as long as the Fed keeps buying these treasuries, And they have this Wall Street game they have keeps being played, this weird, merry-go-round of money. People don't understand that. That's the corporatocracy. They figured it out. They've got it figured out. And, the strict libertarians and strict budget, balance the budget people got that wrong. See, I've got libertarian ideas in my head, because liberty, freedom, right? Less government. Yeah, I'm all for that. Government is the problem in most cases, right? We don't need more government. We need less government. But all that said, that comes with bureaucracies and ridiculous things, that the self-preservation of of people in bureaucracies where and the politicians themselves, right? Everything is self-centered within that world. Okay. But that's ending as the corporatocracy, becomes more and more powerful globally. It's already pretty darn powerful here. Pretty much runs the United States as is, as I've said. But these so-called, balanced budget idiots don't really get it. It's like if you got Janet Yellen as the head of the Treasury now, and she was a former Fed chair, right? And so, remember, the Federal Reserve is not the United States government; it's private banks. So, if the private bankers want to, create $2 trillion to put this together out of thin air, right? And so-called loan it, to the government, or by, however they want to do it, by buying this or doing that, or, so be it, right? Remember, the world is the way it is. And as long as, like I say, until the farmer leaves the farm, which is a previous video, which is always a possibility, that would be considered like the corporatocracy or even the Fed. The Fed, the consortium of banks that make up the Federal Reserve System, they could just hightail out of here, or just say, we're not going to do it. That's always a possibility. That's the farmer leaving the farm, and the cattle, and we're the cattle, and so we're just sitting here like, staring at the, at the fence. Where'd he go? Where's our feed? Where's our hay? Where's our water? Right? That's a distinct possibility. And maybe eventually, it could happen. Probably will. But in the absence of that, in the short term, that's not going to happen within the next, 6 months. They let them do whatever they want to. It's it's their money. It's not ours. See, a lot of people have that all wrong. Well, our tax dollars. Nah, you know what? Our tax dollars are, for the most part, end up in, a lot of it gets wasted in the military industrial complex. There's no doubt about that. Okay. But a lot of our tax dollars, like tax deductions, payroll tax deductions, especially now, like where you have unemployment taken out, Social Security, Medicare, these things taken out of your paychecks, right? These are your big taxes, right? You basically get that back. So I tell everybody should retire at age 62, no matter what, because they're fools. Because if they push the age back to 66, 67, some for younger people even be in the 70s. In that 5-year, 7-year, whatever, 8-year period of time, all you have to do is that if you were due like $1,000, that's $12,000 a year. Okay. Or, basically. So in 5 years, that would be $60,000. All right. So why would you give away $60,000? Oh, so I could get so 5 years from then, I can get, 500 extra per month. Yeah. But if you take that 500 extra per month, that's only $6,000. Okay. In the course of a year. Right. So it would take you 10 years, right, to get $60,000. And 10 years from that point is the life is getting close to the life expectancy of a human being. So people don't think about that. And they play that game with people. Just take the money and go to shop at Walmart or the Dollar Tree. Toilet paper's $2 cheaper at Walmart than it is at the supermarket. You just got to learn to shop. And besides, once you retire, you get time to do stuff like that. So I'm saying I'm looking forward. I don't know if it's next week or the week after. I don't, because I don't drive anymore. Why should I pay for a car? I can walk to a grocery store, walk to the doctor's office, walk to a convenience store, walk to a bar, walk to a pizza shop. There's another restaurant down there. And, actually, I could, if I wanted to, I could walk to a liquor store, a Dollar General, and a some kind of Save-A-Lot or some kind of weird store like that. That's a little bit longer walk, summertime walk, if I wanted to. But I grow food in my backyard. So in the summertime, I don't even go to the store. Once a month, pick up some condiments, salad dressing, things for my salad, because I grow so much greens, I don't know what to do with them. Or sauce, in case if I got zucchinis, I could, make some kind of thing like that with some sauce, a 39-cent can of sauce. Man, you have no idea how cheap it is to live anywhere in the United States if you have half a frickin' brain. So what I'm trying to say is that, and then people talk about, well, our tax money, they're wasting our tax money. Well, all the tax money that was allegedly wasted, here's another way of perspective. I wish people were watching this thing. Share these videos. Okay, well, when we got we got $3,200, basically. The average person got $3,200. Just looking out there as a bus or something. The average person got $3,200 within the last year. In less than 1 year, we got $3,200 in our bank accounts or checks, however you got yours. All right. People who were married, they got more than that, right? Or two people living together, that means their household, they got double that. Well, that's a lot of do-re-mi, okay? Well, that, so you could look back and say, well, our tax money went to waste. It's like, I don't know. They just gave us $3,200. Those people who are on unemployment right now, they definitely got their money, their little payroll deductions worth. They're on unemployment straight through till September. And like I say, the lower your wage was, the more you benefited. So especially last year when it was $600 on top of your your salary. And those those making a heck of a lot more, well, when you're making that kind of money and you're broke, that's your own damn fault. You're a bright and shiny object, consumer fool, right? Got to get that washer and dryer. We got to have that new refrigerator that talks to us. Yeah, well, whatever. Hey, honey, let's get a new car. Let's get a bigger SUV. I get rid of my car, so I have no car insurance. Right? Yeah, it'd be nice. I'd be able to drive to the, I could use certain things I could use. But a couple times a month, so what? But that's just me. You could still keep a car and save money. But yeah, you put a seed in the ground and you grow food. You could do it on your porch. You could do it in Florida. When I lived in Florida, I said this before. I had big windows. I planted tomato seeds from a farmer's market that I actually bought at a farmer's market, and I planted the seeds. I just put them. I have no background in this. It's just common sense thing. I took the seeds from a tomato. There's a lot of seeds in one tomato, and I took the seeds from a tomato. And I put them in a wet, I took like a paper towel, and I just put those seeds in this damp paper towel. Okay. And I mean, this is as far as I remember. I remember doing that on my counter. And then I got these Dollar Tree type, those long, they're almost like a window box type of things, but you can get them in plastic. You can buy them for like a couple bucks. Bag of dirt, that's what I called it back then. And put the soil in, whatever, when the seeds were ready, put the seeds, separated the seeds, put them in like 2 of these window boxes and put them in my window because the sun came in the window. And these things vined out like crazy. Took over, my window. It was insane. Inside. In fact, cleaning it up later because they were like, they had like connected themselves somehow to the window and stuff like that. They just really vined up. But, it was a doable job. It was a little bit of a scraping here and there. I had so many tomatoes for months that I grew inside my house. And they tasted just as delicious as those tomatoes I bought from that farmer. Some farmer girl used to have this farmer market thing. So, you can do it, whether you have a backyard, a porch, or whatever. See, I'll show you my see if we can get a look at this. There we go. That's a raised bed. It's a little out of focus because I'm showing it from my smartphone. And I don't know if I pull it to a certain level. There we go. And this is the inside of what I call the TARDIS. Let's see if we can get this focused in. It's very bright. See, when I do this, see, you can almost see the screen of the other computer where I have my music. But anyway, let's see. Now in there, that's inside, that's this little mini framed thing I built. And maybe if I do this, it'll look better. Enlarge it a little. That's primarily what I use my smartphone for, is to take pictures. Though I do have an app, one of those Magic Jack apps, so I could use it as a phone. So back to this guy's speech and why I was talking about the show more thing below. I added a video, if you go beyond the Great Solar, where it's a sponsored link for solar stuff, and it's greatsolarstuff.com. If you go one step further down below in the show more description thing underneath this video. All right. It's probably people don't even know that you can do that. You'll see a link to another YouTube video called Infrastructure and Climate Change Dilemma, or something like that. It's the title of it. And so what I was trying to say is, not only is this stuff not going to happen instantly and all that jazz, and it's to find skilled laborers to do this sort of thing. So you have to remember when Eisenhower had the highway project, where they built the national, highway system, or, Kennedy's space thing, which really what a lot of people still don't understand, that was like that was partly a front for them to develop intercontinental ballistic missiles without drawing attention to it. See, people don't understand that was the space race was cloaking, development of rockets. That was like Werner von Braun's thing, whose pictures on one of my earlier videos. But back then, when you go back to Eisenhower era, okay, late 50s, right around 60, You had all these. Remember, this was like post World War II generation, Korean War. Okay. This is like America was still, the immigrants, the wave of immigrants who came in to the country at the turn of the century, right? And their direct descendants. This was the American, handyman, type of guy, right? The soldier, the sailor, tinker, and tailor. But in all seriousness, in other words, this was the wave. These were still the wave of the European, this was first and second generation immigrants, highly skilled immigrants, and people who had gone through the military. And so, that's the idea of the Army Corps of Engineers concept. And the chain of command and the idea of like the way the union people would understand, a foreman and to apprentice. I think even that was mentioned in the speech the other night or last night. But you don't have, outside of, and remember the unions have really, 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 decreased in numbers in the United States. So that's not a thing. My leg was ready to cramp. That's not the way it was before. So you got to find workers. Okay. So look around the streets. And so there's two problems that there's two major problems that weren't addressed last night and won't be addressed, I guarantee you, on any talk show. There'll be like goofballs, ideologues who are just going to criticize or try to poke fun at, El Presidente, right? Which is, an exercise in futility, a waste of time. And it's like, get a life. Who cares? Right? Okay. The guy's old. He's lost his mind. But, whatever drugs they're giving him, he made it through that speech last night pretty darn well. So it's, the news media should be, if they really wanted to, what they really should be saying is to their press secretary is, what drugs exactly are you giving this guy? And are you making them available to the general public? Right? That's what I say. It's the same with with the previous guy and other people in that administration. When they caught the plague, they got this drug. They said it was going to be available free to anybody who wanted it. And they were cured within like 24, 48 hours. Right? Well, if there's a cure like that and they got it, why would there be a pandemic? And why would you even need to get a shot for something like that? In other words, it's like saying, if there's a cure for something, a treatment for something, it's not considered that big a threat, right? You don't see people going out, if you get bit by a spider, they could give you some kind of, or a snake, there's venom you could get, they can do things about that. They're not forcing everybody in the country to go take get some kind of, injection. But that's beside the point. That's a question I would ask as a reporter, saying, we know the guy's lost his, has got dementia. I mean, you can't argue that point. All right. And that's not ideologically. It's reality. We've seen it. Everyone's seen it. Okay. But he had a really good performance last night. And at times recently. So they're giving him something. So my question is, I don't really care about the ideologies and the political part of it. My question is, what did my dad died of Alzheimer's. That's basically what caused it. I mean, and that led to a miserable, well, it was out of touch with reality, but I mean, the last couple of years of his life were he didn't know who he was. So it's like if I were somebody who had a parent or a grandparent who was currently suffering from that, I'd say, hey, what are you giving this guy and why can't we get it? Right? They're clearly giving him something. Okay, but that's not what I wanted to talk about. The two things I wanted to talk about are one, all of these people who are out on the streets with their placards, right? Their magic marker, cardboard box things. We want this, we want that, right? It's never enough. The people in the Northwest that are still rioting and stuff up there, right? That doesn't even make the news anymore. There's still crime in Chicago. All this like generation now people. They got degrees from college that are in some kind of weird thing that's unnecessary, that serves no purpose for the functioning of society. At least not the society we live in today. And so you're going to say to them, hey, guess what? We got 18 million jobs, 20 million jobs. We need you to come on board and join the such and such union, apprentice here, because we're going to build these 10 bridges and then we're going to fix, 1,000 more. And, we're going to build this high-speed rail line across the country. And we're going to install all these electrical car things all over these new roads or these repaired roads. And we're going to do all this stuff, right? And these people are soft, right? Remember, this is a generation afraid of a word, right? If you say a word, they're like, right? He said a word, or he didn't wear a mask. Okay, so you got these like wimpy type of people, right? Don't even know what gender they are necessarily, okay? Or have changed genders or have made new, whatever, the 1,000 gender, have created a new gender for themselves. And you're going to take them and put them on a crew with a bunch of manly men, right? Who are going to be building bridges and digging, and building highways and, and doing this kind of stuff. You honestly think those people are going to be jumping to the front of the line? Hey, I want in. They don't want to work. The problem with this, and they say, oh, that's why we're bringing in all these immigrants. Those people are unskilled and uneducated, and they can't even speak the language, most of them. Right? Well, when you're doing very sophisticated, dangerous work and, building bridges and cities and delicate work, electronic work, electric, pushing this and conduits and stuff, language barriers, education and skill is very important. If you can't, you don't get that rivet in the right place, you don't listen to that engineer, that foreman or whatever, the whole structural integrity of a bridge or something can be threatened. So no, you're not going to get a bunch of unskilled, uneducated people from south of the border coming up here that are going to fill these jobs and suddenly become union workers. It's just like you're not going to get a bunch of these people with student loans with degrees to start to go and work with their hands. That's a type of individual that enjoys that. Like me, I don't mind getting my hands dirty. I like using a hammer and drill and saw, lately I've been using a handsaw, and going, man, I forgot, because you get so used to using all these electric tools that I forgot how easy it is to saw and how precise it is to use a saw, right? And fast. You don't have to worry about plugging it in, worried about if you got enough cord, cable, or whatever. You just grab the saw and saw the thing. These people don't know how to use saws, right? Let alone rivet or, you know. And the second part, which ties into that, is what's called heavy equipment. All right. And this is where the conflict comes in with the so-called Green New Deal climate change. You won't see that on national TV, guy doing that. Okay. How do you raise and fix a bridge? You need things like cranes. How do you rip up old highways, to repair them? You need heavy equipment, right? Things like these jackhammer type machines. If you watch that video, I show them, they have them. These things run on diesel. They run on carbon-based fuels. They require such intense energy in order to produce the job that it's not electric. You just can't run them on batteries. All right. These machines, this heavy equipment, that it's huge. They're huge. They're this type of machines that they would be using to fix, say, these 10 particular giant bridges, wherever they are, he mentioned last night, right? Which I'm assuming will be in major market cities. Okay. All right. These 10 bridges, the type of equipment needed to and to forge that steel, right? Those girders, right? The beams and all that. Well, that you're talking about, here's the thing. Hey, AOC, she didn't like to be called that, but she's not watching my video. But hey, AOC, here's the thing. What was just announced last night was that there's going to be a demand for 2 or 3 times the fossil fuels, right? Carbon-based fuels than we've been using over the past 10 or 20 years. Because a project of this grand scale of rebuilding infrastructure, he's talking about replacing lead pipes. All right. You've got to dig into the ground. All right. Dig up concrete, asphalt, rocks, right? With dump trucks, these giant dump trucks. They don't run on batteries. This isn't like, oh, we've got, Elon Musk has a new SUV that runs on electric. Yeah. How many tons of rocks does that haul? Right? No. You need ukes. You need things where the tire is taller than a man. The amount of carbon-based fuels needed to operate those machines, that heavy equipment, these trucks, bulldozers, front-end loaders, skid steers, right? Tractors, right? They don't even know this stuff exists, these guys. They're city folk. They're politicians. They spent their lives, wearing a suit and tie, sitting in a desk, taking, getting money under the table. They're shysters. They're used car salesmen wearing fancy, suits, seersucker suits, right? Making deals with the communist Chinese and anybody else who will give them a buck, right? They don't even know what heavy equipment is, let alone how to use it. And where are they going to find the people? Where are they going to find the thousands of operators, right? Because the thing is, who the real pros are at that equipment? Those people are like now in their 50s and 60s. They're either on the verge of retirement or are going to retire. And it takes time to master that type of machinery. And you slip up, and you threaten lives. You don't know how to operate a crane properly, and something falls. You kill a lot of people. Or you don't build the structure properly, the foundation properly, lay the concrete mix properly, all of these things. and you have structural, and you don't have structural integrity, right? No. This is something, I mean, just to find the foreman alone that could, on this grandiose project, there aren't even that many, you probably take every union member there is right now, just, move them up to be foreman status, right? You're talking about thousands and thousands of foremen, in a nation the size, geographically this size, and to change this infrastructure, unless you really say this is going to take 50 or 100 years, in which case the whole thing is just absurd. It's just a political talk. It's not like Kennedy saying we're going to, before the decade is out, right? Meaning like 8 years or something, and I think Biden was trying to say we're going to do some of these things in 8 years or something like that. Because it was his Kennedy. He was hoping it was his Kennedy moment, but it wasn't. But, hats off to the dude, because he did get through it. You can't, to criticize him or make fun of him. It's like the concept, the idea, and everything was legitimate, But what I'm trying to tell you is those two things. A, where are you going to find the people to do it? All right, in this country right now, when you've got a bunch of wimps who are afraid of their own shadow and rather say that person used this name, or they called somebody something, right? This is like, working side by side, some union workers, pipe fitters, electricians, right? Guys climbing up on who aren't afraid of heights. You had to have some kind of background in this stuff, right? That's why I can't find a freaking roofer. There are companies, I could hire some, pay $12,000, $15,000, $20,000 and get some construction, contractor firm that'll say, yeah, we'll fix your roof in June. We're booked up now. It'll cost you 20 grand. I need 50% down right now. Right. And then they'll send it over. Or maybe you get the Amish, do that kind of thing, if you don't know about that. But they're not cheap either. They're about $10,000 or $12,000 to do a roof. I looked into it. They send over, they do it in one day. They send over like 20 guys or something. But they get money. They accept money. They trade with the English. Watch those English. And so number one, where are you going to get this labor force? But the other thing is, the bigger one than that is, is that heavy equipment necessary to do this is going to require, he's going to have to rescind that, the pipeline, closing those pipelines, stopping that pipelines, because we're going to need more carbon. He was talking about capping oil wells, and stuff like that in the same breath. So that's the criticism that someone should be saying today. I guarantee I am the only person, like all of my videos, I'm the only person who's basically talking common sense and reality. And that's why no one watches these things, and why the YouTube throttles them and hides them. They're there because if you discover it, by chance, or someone turns you on to it, right? Or, the only way you get this is it's like if somebody you knew or something you watched, someone may have watched it, and it's like people who've watched such and such also saw this. So it's a random thing. That's how I get 13 viewers, right? Through 12 of them are random, or 10 of them are random, and 2 or 3 are people I know, who check this thing out of curiosity. Let's see. Hey, doesn't Tony have a fat face? Right? Or something. I don't know. Whatever. It cracks me up. I have to crack. But that's the truth, man. Nobody is going to, you have to use more fossil fuels, as they call them, than are being used now, because it requires heavy equipment to do this job. I've never heard no one ever talk in all the arguments, these ideologues, people who are against the Green New Deal, people who are against, talk against this, the matter of factual climate, people, the people who debunk the Al Gore, right? And rightfully so, because Al Gore was a bold-faced liar. Everything he said was false. And I proved that in earlier videos, and other people prove it too. Adapt 2030, watch that guy's stuff, But none of those people, as good as they are disproving the lies, of the Paris Accord, the Green New Deal, and Gore's climate, change, and as if the world's heating up when it's past 30 years, it's gotten colder and colder and colder. All right. It's freaking freezing out there right now. It's freezing and snowing, man. It's the first day of April, right? March comes in like a lion and out like a lamb, right? April in the old calendars, has flowers on it. Come on. Tulip bulbs. It's Easter weekend coming up. It's usually associated with like tulips and all that stuff. No, man, things have gotten crazy. It's gotten colder over the past decades. That's beside the point. Heavy equipment. In order to implement his plan, he's going to have to rescind his executive order, reopen those pipelines. Don't cap off any well if it's got any possibility of you getting some kind of crude out of it, and get those refineries operating at optimum capacity. Because in order to do an infrastructure project of the type he's talking about, it's going to require so much carbon-based fuel that I would say at least 3 to 4 times what we've been using over the past 2 decades. All right. We may even be at the point where the U.S. is going to have to import oil. Yeah, that's what the takeaway from Biden's speech was last night. And I bet you not a single person, pro or con, left or right, red or blue, whatever the heck you are, because I was gonna say I'm not political. Nobody's going to mention that. But that is the ultimate argument. And no one is going to dare mention that these wimpy guys and girls, right? With these big student loans and degrees in like whatever studies, right? As if they're going to just like run to join a union, right? And learn to be a welder, right? Apprentice to learn to operate heavy equipment and stuff like that. And the process it takes in order to become, to be able to be trusted using that machine, like especially on those first 10 bridges. Do you know what's going to happen? In all likelihood, this money's going to go to these states, these particular states, like these 10 bridges. See, all the secrets are in there. You have to read between the lines. So it's like, no doubt New York is probably going to get a new bridge. Chicago's probably going to get a new bridge. Somewhere in California, San Fran's going to get a new bridge, or LA freeway somewhere. Maybe Dallas will get a bridge. Atlanta for sure will get a bridge. Some Milwaukee, right? Wherever these 10, these St. Louis. I don't know, what the count is. I don't know if they'll go up to Portland or Seattle or something. But they, whatever these big 10 cities that they're going to choose, right? Pittsburgh, he did it in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's got bridges, So there's going to be a Pittsburgh bridge probably fixed, repaired. So that money's going to go there, and there's going to be these big government contracting firms that they have. All right. That are going to get the contracts. And That's what people need to look into. These are people that lobby Congress. They're part of the corporatocracy. All right. It's like in the military. People don't understand this. It's like the military contractors. You're over there in Afghanistan or in Iraq, and then you see these people, and if they're not spooks, from the alphabet agency, they're these contractors, right? And everybody, anybody in the service knows what I'm talking about. And these contractors, they have a lot of power and a lot of connections all the way up to the top, and they get paid really, really well. And they do things that, that nobody else could do, so. So they're going to give these jobs to certain contractors, not the common man, not the middle class. These aren't jobs for regular people, And the thing is, like I said, you just look around in your own community. I mean, I see it. Like I said, I see it here. Used to be ads in the paper, will, have truck, will travel, odd jobs, repairs, will repair roofs, foundations, whatever, some dude, right? And those ads aren't there. You can't find them in the papers anymore. They're just simply not there. It's people looking for work, and in these community websites where people talk about stuff, everybody's always looking. Is there anybody there that can haul away this thing? Or I need someone to fix this thing. And it's like, you don't see any answer, right? Or you'll see some people say, well, there is this guy. Check this guy out. Maybe I think he did it for us 5 years ago or something. You call the guy and you find out he's dead. Used to be a guy lived across the street from me. He died, or he's in a nursing home. They hauled him away in an ambulance. He used to fix air conditioners and stuff like that. I tried to get him when I first moved in this house 5 or 6 years ago to do some plumbing work in my place. And he was a tall guy, but he was old back then. And he just went down the stairs, and it was a low ceiling. He goes, no, I can't work down here. I'm too old to be able to bend down and do all that stuff. So you got the big contracting firms that, that do these jobs, and there aren't enough of them to go around. There's not enough skilled labor in this country because Americans have gotten soft, instead of going to trade schools, and respecting people who had trades. They created everything they created. Now it's a disposable society, a consumer society. People wanted to buy bright and shiny objects. When your the guy who sold me my refrigerator said, he goes, those things only last about 5 years, to be honest with you. He just said that out front, though refrigerators before 10 years ago, I had a refrigerator that was a refrigerator from the 1960s that was still operating in an apartment I was renting about 10 years ago. And man, did that keep my beer cold. So the whole thing, they don't make them like they used to, is very true. So, that's the takeaway. They're going to have to increase the output of carbon-based fuels, which is going to freak out the AOC and the climate change folks. No way in hell, you're going to operate that heavy equipment and at that volume and at an accelerated rate, according to that speech last night, without us basically using 3 or 4 times more carbon-based fuels. All right, because those machines don't run on batteries. And then you have to have people that are knowledgeable to do the physical work. And it's just, it's going to be a nightmare. And let me tell you something about these so-called contracting firms. Right now, they're digging up my street. In fact, there may be a morning or two where I can't even do this show. They've started down further. But this is the 3rd time the sewer. This is through the sewer authority. They even raised our monthly sewer bill by $55. right? Which no one complains. See, where's the media and where's your politicians on that? Because they're trying to, because of these inept contractors, all right, botched the job the first time. And so they charging, instead of the city, you know, or the sewer authority, which is a private corporation, they managed to say, oh, well, we're going to have to redo this project, but it's going to cost this amount of money. So we're going to charge everybody an additional $55 a month forever, right? Once they put the raise in. It's not like it was a temporary thing, like, oh, for 1 year, no, it's forever. I pay $100 and some a month for water and sewer. Think about that. I'm one guy in a relatively small house, right? Think about that. Those bills used to be like were quarterly and things like that. It's insane. And there's rumors I've heard that they're going to raise it again. Well, anyway, this is the third time this contracting company, I don't know if they got a new contractors now doing the job. It's the third time they're digging up the streets to fix these sewer lines because they botched the job, which means even these contractors and this current contractor that they have, it's quite the operation, man. They've got the logos on the truck. They took over these things and they have every bit of equipment, heavy equipment you can imagine, all with this big logo, whatever the name of their company is. And they've got their little headquarters set up with these 2 double wide things and their own gas tanks and stuff set up. I mean, it's like, yeah, they're the pro. They brought in the big contractors, right? And they're starting to saw open the streets and then bring in the heavy equipment and dig this stuff out. Well, they had a problem. They started this over the summer. And they had to go under, there was like a rail line, or they had to do some kind of thing. And they ran into some kind of problems. And instead, this job was supposed to be finished last year, okay, in the fall. They ran into problems, so to speak, okay, due to their being inept, not having the proper, engineers on staff or whatever. And so now they're still digging up the street. They finally got that problem solved, but that took them the whole summer. So now they started again. So we'll see if the third time's a charm. So when you've got these big contracting companies that can't even, fix a sewer line, what are they going to be doing when they go to these places and try to replace the pipe? Like he was saying, every house will have a new water line that has lead pipes and blah, 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 and every drinking fountain. First of all, drinking fountains should be outlawed because it's one of the most filthiest things in the world, right? You want people to wear a mask, right? But you're going to let them drink out of a public drinking fountain. I mean, imagine that, imagine that. That was the gaffe of that was the mistake in that speech last night. No one's going to pick up on that one either. Drinking fountain. It's like drinking fountain. It's like the ultimate. Because you ever see people, even kids, like I know when I was a kid, they used to have them in schools and stuff. Because people don't raise their children like with proper hygiene. Kids would put their mouth right on completely on the thing and drink it and be like, "Oh, I'm never drinking out of that fountain." But other people would, despite seeing another kid doing that. So I'm like, the kid just had his mouth literally touching the thing, right? The same kid who just had the croup going, right? Went to school. All right, man. And woman, or whatever. I mean, I know this is a crazy show and it went all over the place, but thanks for watching. Appreciate it. And definitely good morning. Have a good morning and good luck. And you're not going to hear this stuff from anybody else. Like and share the video and subscribe to the channel. Good luck with your with your future endeavors. But as nice as that hope was, like I say, hope is a 4-letter word when these guys make these speeches, because I'm all for it. I'm all for it, but it's just not, it's surrealistic. It's a surrealistic nightmare. It's a house of horrors. And we're just, people are smiling through it. And yeah, it's crazy. Cheers. Take care. Bye.